Hello everyone, my name is Keith Nolan and I'm a cadet private. Today my topic is on the military. So can I just see a show of hands about people who ever thought that they were going to join the military? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, I see a few. I thought the same thing. Ever since I was a kid, I always thought that I would be joining the military. I love the military. I love the history. I loved reading about it. And my family was a part of the military. My grandpa, he fought in World War II. And I thought it was just a family service, a duty that we were supposed to do. And did you know that, does anyone know why deaf people can't serve in the military in the U.S.? Well, no, you just can't. And after high school, I graduated. It was about 3 months after and it was in 2011. I went to the recruiting center, and I saw a man. He was a big man, and he was standing there, and I was trying to read his lips, and he said, "I'm sorry, you're deaf." And he grabbed a card, a little piece of paper, and he wrote down 3 words: bad ear qual. He didn't even write qualified. He just wrote bad ear qual. I read the paper and, I thought, whatever. So I tried a different recruiting center. I contacted a few, and I got the same response. "You're deaf. I'm sorry, you can't join the military." And, I changed my field. I went into teaching deaf education. I taught for about 2 years. And during the 3rd year, it was starting the spring, and I was teaching 3 different classes. Deaf history. I taught about the Mexican War. And, the 3rd topic, after the bell rang, a deaf student of mine came up to me and he said, "I want to join the military." And I said, "I'm sorry, you can't, you're deaf." And suddenly, all of the no's I had been told affected my response to my student, and I told my student no. That really impacted me. And I thought about different countries. Did you guys know that Israel allows deaf people to join the army? Yeah, they work with deaf people in the army. And I didn't think that was fair. I was like, come on. So I went to an Israel seminar in the summer, and I asked a whole bunch of questions relating to the army. And they said CSUN has an ROTC center. So for my 3rd objective, I went to CSUN. And they established an Army ROTC program at CSUN. And it was for an officer recruiting program. And their major in school, they worked along with students in school so they can follow a program to join the military post-graduation. So when they were graduating, they were ready to be a part of the Army. And I thought that, maybe I would join this program. So I emailed them, contacted them, and I said, "I'm a teacher, but I said I'll send the email anyways." So they responded back fast. And one thing they said was, I was working with a class of people, and now, maybe I thought this was a shot. They responded back to me. And the first time, it was the first time I didn't hear, "Sorry, no, you're deaf, you can't." It was really interesting for me. I was able to work with other people and see other opportunities. There was other deaf people going to CSUN in this ROTC program, and they were teaching new words. I had to learn everything new about the camp, everything. And that was a, a very new experience. Different people, different culture, but they had the opportunity to have deaf people in the army. So, anyways. America here, they have soldiers in the past that have fought in the war, and they were deaf. They were different commanders, and they helped become independent. In the war, Gallaudet had certain aspects to teaching both, there was North and South, and yeah. And the third one was World War II. There was a few differences, a little bit similar. It was kind of like politics, it's foreign. But they established it, and it was that long ago. Another thing was school occupations in the communications. So you weren't actively on the front line. You were on the back line working on different types of jobs, There was, for being smart, there was technology, there was computer designing, there was research, there was so many opportunities to work on the back line. And it was dealing with communications and how you can communicate with the hearing world. It was oralism, reading lips, gesture. Some people actually knew how to sign, and there was working with that. And, others wrote down notes. But it was teaching, it was the ability to work. So, and they did have interpreters. They did have some that were set up in different areas. Every day we worked with an interpreter. No, we didn't, actually. The interpreters, just because we had that ability to communicate with other people, we weren't having an interpreter constantly following us, so we didn't need the interpreters everywhere we went, which was nice. In this picture was my grandpa. Anyways, okay, so now working with the Army itself. For example, to be a lieutenant, one of my former lieutenants, he broke his leg in war. A bomb went off and he lost his leg, and now he has a prosthetic leg. And you know what he did? He came back, and now he's fighting in Afghanistan. That's amazing, isn't it? And can you guys guess that he's not the only one? There's about 40 people fighting with different types of prosthetic body parts. And there was another incident where a man, he went blind. Another bomb went off, and the explosion caused him to lose his eyesight. And here he is in this picture. And he was at the front line, and he couldn't hear. He lost one hearing, and he was in the center. So in the program, it talks about deaf people in the center. So what does that even mean? When you establish certain rules in the military, we're following different things. So there's certain military terms and work, and you're fighting. And how many of you can see that the connection? There's so many different levels to consider. The first one was that Israel is very open. They accept deaf soldiers. You don't have to be skilled. You don't have to be a certain qualification. The military supports you. And you're not necessarily on the front line battle, but there was 80% of the US military are non-combat. So it's really working with your citizens. And now Army ROTC.